Hi everybody, Cam Sweet here from the Garage Connection and Central Digger Supply, coming to you today with a video about this machine here behind me. This is the AGT MX12RX. I don't know if they could put any more letters and numbers on that name there, but we're going to talk about this machine and see what it has to offer, and if this is possibly the right fit for you, and some reasons why you might want to skip it and move on to the next one. So stay tuned. So first things first, this machine is marketed as a very well optioned machine in the entry-level market, if that makes sense. So it's bringing some features to the table that some of the bare bottom ones don't have, and then it's noticeably absent some features that many machines do have. So we're going to go bow to stern here and just kind of go over some of the things that it does not have, and starting up here at the bucket. So I hope you're gonna follow me here. I got my little gimbal following me. So this machine does not have a quick attach on it at all. So it has the factory bucket that you would expect on many of these machines in that kind of 1 foot range. And it does not have a hydraulic thumb, and it does not have a single mount for that thumb. So this uses the adjustable style, I guess you can call it, for this. And if you want to manipulate the thumb at all, you got to take out this bolt, put it where you want, put the bolt back in. And if you want to add on a hydraulic thumb, you're going to need to source that bracket that steps it out to get out of the way. It does have provisions here for the 3-way mounting valves, which that's kind of nice. They don't look like they're tapped, unfortunately, which is not really a huge deal, but so that noticeably is absent. And the auxiliary lines terminate up here on the top of the boom. So if you want to add a 3-way, you're also going to need to buy some extension whips to get the aux lines down here where you need them. So keep that in mind. Now, this unit also does not have swing boom. So it has the fixed boom attached to the chassis. You can't do anything about that. And it also has what I would say rather original style body design, where it's very squared off and a bunch of flat faces, and a lot of the plating makes up the parts of the body. So instead of having like a hydraulic tank, it kind of is its own hydraulic tank, if that makes sense. And the other style that this has that is sort of back to the throwback of some of the original H12s and QH12s is it has the center tower, even though it's a pilot control machine. And this is going to control things like your tracking and your blade. So we're bringing this style back from the past, I guess. I don't know if I like that or not, but it is what it is. That's what's on the machine. And looking at the layout here, it's really a mix between a lot of the bigger pilot machines and some of the original like H12s and QH12s. So it does have pilots. There's no functions to the pilots other than their use as moving the boom in the machine itself. So these buttons don't do anything. It's not like you're going to push this and activate a third function or anything like that. And then, like I said, the tracking and the blade is done down here, and your auxiliary controls are actually down on the foot pedal. So you get a lot kind of going on. It's not like you have large rods coming up from the floor to use some of these other functions. The battery cutoff's located down here by your right calf. So if you're looking for that, it's not up on the pilot controls like some of these other machines. And there's also there's two switches up here, one of which is a lockout. The other one runs the headlight on the boom there. So typical arrangement, done, reasonably well. It seems like it's a reasonably well laid out machine. And then up underneath your behind your calves, the hydraulic tank is there with its little sight glass. So that's rather different to have that like that. Versus like a tank that's integrated into the machine itself, where it's just a square tank, they mount it in there and they're done. What that means is your hydraulic fill is kind of half under the seat, so you got to tip the seat forward to get to the hydraulic fill and take the cap off, and depending on how you feel about that, that is what it is. There's also 2 cutouts right here. I don't know what they would be for. They're round cutouts with a 4-bolt mounting flange. Maybe on different models of the machines. Well, actually, no, I do. What am I saying? I do know what this is. If you had the forward controls, they come out right through here. So this must be the same dash tower as some of the I think the DM12 and a couple other models use the same dash tower. Okay. Well, there's that. So many different functions for one piece of sheet metal. We're going to go freehand here. This is the engine compartment. So it's got this sheet metal style cover here with this little latch. So you're gonna pop that off. And if you notice that the whole body is kind of the skin that supports it. So this panel, as an example, you'd say, okay, that's a panel. Not really. It's actually just the body. So the roll cage goes directly to this piece, and that's welded all together. So it just kind of is its own body. It's like the H12, where the big panels are integrated into the whole thing. But what that means is you can't really take anything apart. So even that's the hydraulic tank right there, but it's welded into the side, which is welded into the rest of the side, which is welded into the back and the top. So you kind of own it. What you see is what you get. The only thing that you can really remove is this. I don't want to call it a counterweight because it's not. It's just a piece of stamped sheet metal. This can be removed to give you access to get the engine out, but that is it. Other than that, you kind of own it with this. Very normal Rado 420cc engine. I don't know if we can barely see it in there. Fairly normal Rado engine. We do have some additional hoses because of the pilot controls. So that little mono block over there is the solenoid block there. That controls the pilots. And then as usual, we have the dual pump arrangement for control over the pilots and the rest of the machine. And we see there's the back of the battery switch up over there. So pretty typical arrangement with this unit. Of course, the sheet metal alignment leaves a little to be desired. And the battery is actually located up underneath the floor right here. So you can take this up, you take a couple of bolts out, the whole floor comes out, and you have access to the battery, and you have access to a big open area on that side that there's nothing going on. This is a dummy foot pedal right here, so this doesn't actually control anything. It's just a footrest. So that's the control arrangement. Canopy's kind of what you'd expect on this machine. It's got because everything's kind of one, you can just really rattle the hell out of it. Unfortunately, we come to the point in the video that's going to be kind of bad news for a lot of people, and it's the elephant in the room that you can't ignore, and it's the chassis design. So this machine has a couple different elements in the chassis design that I am going to be very honest, they're horrible. The first one is the drive motors, and the drive motors is probably the biggest issue with this machine. These are the BMER drive motors. So if you don't know about the BMER drive motor issues, I'm going to be doing a separate video because it's that big of a deal. And there's also a Facebook group dedicated to how bad these are. And I feel like once you reach the level of needing a Facebook group to explain to people how bad these are, that there's a serious issue, and it's almost unavoidable at this point. These drive motors are a cheaper alternative that are designed off of a Danfoss drive motor. The problem with that is it's a cheap alternative of a Danfoss drive motor. And the way that the motor is designed, it's designed that it doesn't need K-strains, which is a polite way of saying that we want to build it cheaper and not include K-strains. And that might work with a Danfoss or brand name motor where you're using very good machining tolerances, the seals are all fantastic, the parts, the bearings, I mean, just everything is good. Well, this is none of that. Unfortunately, these motors are plagued by failures. The wheel seals going out, people blowing wheel seals left and right, high pressure seal failures within mere hours of owning the machine. And it doesn't seem to have skipped anybody. So all the MX12s, the 12RXs, the 15s, the 15RXs, the MX20s, all these machines are blowing wheel seals like crazy. And I am looking into adding K-strains to them. However, it is an extremely involved process that would involve complete disassembly of the motor, machine work, a new center swivel, tapping into the tank. It's a lot of work, and I don't know if people are ready to commit to that amount of work on a $3,000 to $4,000 auction machine. So, glaring issue number one, the drive motors. The second one is less of an issue. It's the blade design, where it's just kind of a flimsy piece of metal bent. There's no boxing to it. That's not really that big of a deal, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. But unfortunately, this is a huge deal that I cannot overlook. I'm not going to fire this machine up and dig any holes with it for a couple different reasons. Number one is I'm actually trading this machine. Brand new, it's got 0 hours on it. I'm trading this machine to a gentleman for a hydraulic dump bed, so I don't want to get it all dirty. So there's that, and I feel like I've punished my front lawn enough by doing random stuff with excavators. So I'm not going to dig any holes, but I am going to mention another drawback at this machine is the jumpiness of the controls. So when these models came out, I would say this is really what put the spring mod or those little rubber isolators for the pilot controls. This is what made those so popular, is how jumpy these machines are. I can feather it, but it takes a while to get very, very smooth with it. And that's a big drawback on the machine. Another huge drawback, which it's more of an annoyance than something to like throw your arms up and scream over, is the throttle. And I'm going to explain the throttle to you right now. All right, now common sense would dictate that when you start the machine, you'd put the throttle all the way down, right? So you put the throttle down, you start the machine, maybe give it a little bit of choke, right, if it's cold, and you're off to the races. Well, unfortunately, this machine is not like that. So this is the deal with this. You know, you got your key like a normal human being, right? I'm going to put it at 0 throttle for you. So now you can't turn the key. And even if you pull this thing out, you're kind of always fighting to turn the key with the machine truly at 0 throttle. And it's got to be such an annoyance that people have actually taken this throttle apart and swapped around how it works so that becomes 0 throttle and that becomes full throttle. So minor annoyance, but it is an annoyance. So what's the verdict here? Is this a buy or a skip? Well, my opinion, and this is not a go buy a $10,000 machine from a dealer video. We're comparing apples to apples here. I think for your money, you can do better. That's my personal opinion, is that this machine, if you were extremely handy and you had a machine shop and you could overcome the drive motor issues or maybe swap in a different style drive motor, then you might want to consider buying it. But the way it's built, just kind of how quirky the body is, the drive motor issues, the fact that you still have half a console up here, no thumb, no swing boom, no three-way valves, the weird throttle, I don't know. I think that you can do a lot better. Now, what does a lot better mean? Well, you could look at an MX-15, which that machine is a work of art compared to this. It has counterweight, and it's just, the body's nicer. You have floor controls instead of this kind of console arrangement, but it's still got the drive motor problems. So that's not really that much better. You can look at an MX-20, it's a little bigger, still has the drive motor problems. So if you're at the auction and these come through and you get them for a good price and you want to roll the dice on the drive motor thing, you know, maybe consider picking it up. But if you want something where you can just get in it and use it and it's not gonna bust your balls every time you go to use the thing, my opinion is you need to be looking elsewhere for a product. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure AGT will say there's nothing wrong. However, we all know the truth that there's a huge amount wrong with these drive motors. So that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. I'm just an excavator guy on the internet. So for now, that's going to do it. Camp Suite here from the Garage Connection. Thank you very much for watching.